Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Wire Week 8 live stream start sit. Jim Coventry here. Actually, I put my backlight on here. Give me a second here while I reach over and grab this and click this little button. And we are in business now. All right. So a little light, not to have a face for radio, but hey, at least you can see me now. All right. That said, remember the ranking sheet is on. I added a little bit this week. I made 2 columns. So you see the quarterback column on the left. There's 2 running back columns that gets you down to running back 81. Not that you need 81 running backs, but it's there. And then the receivers, 2 columns for receivers, you see, and then tight end column on the right. Don't do kickers. No kicker questions ever. Defenses, I can answer those. I'm not putting the rankings up for those. Those are always fickle as it is. Remember, if there's a green mark on a player for where I have him ranked, the difference that you need to understand about that is that I see that player as an upside option where they're at, even if they're like Anthony Richardson at 22. Well, he had 30 points fantasy-wise against Houston in week 1. So clearly he has upside. So we can view it that way. So take that off of there. Good. All right, give me one more second here. All right, and then the red obviously means downside. So when you see the red on a player, it means downside. So we're good there. And just where his last screen disappeared to, and I'll be good. Okay. Just trying to navigate my screen so we can start. I'll go through inactives as they come up about 11:30 Eastern time. I'll start navigating that tab and seeing what we can do for that. Super chat questions get pushed to the front when I see them. It's very, very poorly placed on here. I have a little tiny number in the side, but I do see I have one there, so I will start out with that in a moment. But again, if you have super chat, as soon as I see it, I'll answer it, and it'll jump to the front of the line on that. And so that said, we'll start with that, and we're going till 12:45. I'll do speed round probably at 12:15. That's when we dump the Y off because you'll have heard most of the Ys for those players at that point. All right. John, I see you have a super chat question, but there is no question attached to it. And I probably have 80 questions in the queue. So I don't know. And whenever that happens, please make sure you post your question with that because all I see is just the name. I could do a real quick spin through to see if I see John's question on here. But oh, there. All right, so I found it here. But yeah, put it the super chat. Now I can find it, so we're good, John. All right, McMillan, Keon, and Bateman. Think of Bateman. He gets about 4 targets a game, but nobody can figure out how to defend the Ravens. And I know Cleveland, we don't know if they're going to play man every week because when they played Cincinnati, they went heavy zone, which is unlike that Jim Schwartz growing as a coordinator. So I don't know how they're going to plan to deal with them. But that said, because of the way you have to defend Baltimore, they can't really focus on Bateman. And when Bateman's lined up at times on Denzel Ward, that's a problem. But when he's on the other side, even with Emerson, I think he can get downfield on him. So I think Bateman has been getting it done each week. I think you trust him here. Keon Coleman last week, it was weird because we saw all the 3, I think the top 4 guys all had targets. It was, Cooper, Kincaid, Keon, and Shakir. They all had targets. And I don't know how that keeps up, but I know last week's matchup really worked out well for them. This week's matchup against Seattle, I don't like Keon Coleman. Reek Woolen is going to play. There's going to be a lot of times that Keon's on his side of the field. I think that's a bad matchup for him. So I'm a little worried. But McMillan, here's the thing. We don't know where he's playing. My personal expectation is Shepard's in the slot. If that's the case, McMillan's on the outside. And again, a good deal of the time, if he is, he'll see A.J. Terrell, which is the one matchup probably to avoid. Defenses are going to play the Bucs a whole lot differently with no Evans and no Godwin. They're going to kind of like pack things down a bit. So Bateman would be in for me for sure. And of the other 2, because I think Atlanta's going to score a boatload of points here. Jamel Dean's out. Tyke Smith, their slot corners out. I think that at least McMillan's going to see targets. So I think I would go Bateman and McMillan here, and I'd probably be prone to move Coleman out on this one. All right, let's get to the live stream questions here. Roll through. Disco Dave, no rushing yards and no negative points for turnovers. May or Winston? Yeah, well, there's no rushing yards. May, look, the Jets last week against Russell Wilson, throw that game out. They were without 2 of their top 3 corners. They don't travel Gardner, so that means Pickens, they just line him up on the other side. He made his big plays there. All 3 corners are back. I don't know how New England gets it done here with May because those 3 corners are way better than anything that Patriots throwing out receiver-wise. Winston, my expectation, this is for everybody, my expectation with the Browns offense, when they brought Watson in, they went to a 3-receiver offense and shotgun. That was not Kevin Stefanski's offense, but they paid this guy $250 million, so they put it out. Well, my guess is with Winston there, they go back to the old days. It's 2 tight end sets, it's play action. easy shots, Nick Chubb, increased workload running the ball. So I think Winston's in an advantageous spot. You got Nate Wiggins out, you got Marlon Humphrey doubtful, he ain't playing, and Baltimore's pass defense has been terrible. To me, I have Winston as my quarterback 19 with upside. I have May at 25 because of the opponent. So I'm going to go with little Jameis Winston there. Richard, Kyler and Geno, Caleb Williams available. You know what? As you'll see, I have Kyler at 6 because of the running. I fully expect that Miami gets out to a massive lead here. I think Kyler's going to get a lot of garbage time here. You'll see I have Caleb Williams right beneath him. I think Caleb Williams is actually safer than Kyler, though, because Washington, they have no pass rush, and Jonathan Allen lost him a couple weeks ago. And their corners, the Sandstrill, the rookie's playing real well, but obviously DJ Moore, he's having good luck. DJ Moore's a superstar. So I would prefer Caleb Williams here. Geno, I don't like the matchup with Buffalo. And no DK Metcalf, that's a problem. So my guess, Kyler and Caleb, like you said, they're super close. I have Kyler ranked higher. But if you want the safest play with a similar upside, I'd go Caleb Williams here. I think the Bears are in a great spot here. Julian, Ricky Pearsall. I'm going to go Mooney. Mooney, $1.05 and 2 touchdowns against Tampa a few weeks ago. Tampa's down 2 of their top 3 corners. I don't know. They're not throwing for 500 yards this time. I get that. But Mooney actually had another touchdown that he dropped in that game. I think Mooney has to get at least 70 yards in this game and in any normal circumstances. And it's not the easiest to run on the Bucs, so passing's their best way. Pearsall, I get it, he's going to see snaps, but he's not a one for Ayuk. He doesn't play the same position. He's more of a slot guy. I know Jennings is out, and so maybe that gets Pearsall something. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to run the ball heavy here. I'm going to give Mooney the edge here. Mooney's safer. I think Mooney has more upside too. Rashad White or McLaurin. I expect Rashad White to probably catch 5 to 7 balls in this game. And the DraftKings same game parlay. Rashad White over on receptions. Sterling Shepard over 2.5 receptions. This is for everybody. I went Falcons over 23.5 points. I changed the point spread to give the Falcons 3.5 just to, divisional matchups, and Drake London over 70 yards. That was plus 950 for that. And and I got a little profit boost on it too. But that's a nice bet. But back to this now. Rashad White's going to catch some passes here. Now, McLaurin, here's my worry. Jalen Johnson will travel at times. They may move him on him. That's a bad matchup. Now, McLaurin's a great player. And but Jalen Johnson's a stud corner. He's been playing great. I honestly don't know what the status of the quarterback is, Jaden Downs. I don't know I don't know because if his ribs are an issue, are they going to want him to hold the ball and throw it outfield? It's going to be just a run-based game and a quick passing game. I think Rashad White has a very good floor, and because they're probably trailing in this game, I think he has a good ceiling. I would give White a 51-49 edge. If your gut says McLaurin, look, he's been red hot 5 weeks in a row, so it's kind of hard, but it's a bad matchup, and I don't know the quarterback status, so that's interesting too. McLaurin, Devontae Smith, JSN, Garrett Wilson, rank them. JSN's been a disappointment, but with no Metcalf, he probably gets 8 to 10 targets here. Devontae Smith, we saw the last game and he didn't really get much action, and that's always going to be problematic, and Jalen Hurts is problematic, but I think that game scores a bit. So I'm probably going to go Devontae Smith 1, Garrett Wilson 2, because he did get 9 targets last week, JSN 3, and McLaurin. No, you know what? Well, I think JSN gets a lot of targets, so I'm going to say JSN 3 because of the targets. I have McLaurin ranked higher, but I have McLaurin marked with downside. I got McLaurin's by 12, but it's with downside. So if you're willing to risk the downside, I'd play him over JSN, who I have in the 20s. I got him like higher than usual. I got him at 25, but I would like understand the downside with McLaurin here. So be careful with that. But that's how I look at that otherwise. Trey, good morning to you. Pick 2. Downs, Dubs, Christian Watson. I hope you mean Christian Watson, not Justin Watson, but you might mean, I don't know which, I'm not sure which Watson you mean. I assume Christian, but you might mean Justin, but Justin will be out. Tillman or Sean Tucker. Tucker had 5 carries last week. He is the clear number 3 running back in this offense. I don't think that's much to bet on. Downs, star, but his quarterback's been killing him, so he is super risky. Dobbs has been getting involved, and he's our X receiver. I'm going to put Dobbs there, and then Honestly, I think Tillman with the play action and the two corners out for Baltimore, and they're probably going to trail in this game, Cleveland will. So I'm probably going to go Dobbs and Tillman on that one. Watson has just been not getting it done. He's just extreme boom bust. So and then the boom hasn't been high. So that's problematic. Mike, all right, more into you as well. Least likely to ruin your fantasy weekend. Debo, Flowers, or Stevenson. Stevenson has an easy matchup. I don't know if the Jets are going to overload the box, which would be a problem, but they haven't. And I don't think they care if the Jets if the Patriots run the ball. Flowers, you would Jay Flower. I think you mean Zay Flowers, but Flowers has the ankle. So I think, and Debo's coming off the pneumonia. And if the 49ers get a big lead and it's not Debo who gets them to the big lead, does Debo get sat down? Flowers, kind of the same deal. If his ankle's bad, and if they get a big lead early and they don't need him. So I guess I would say this. Flowers would probably be the most likely because he has 3 really bad games this year. And I don't know, unless you hurt his ankle, but he did play. So I'd say he's the most likely to. All right. Johnny, good morning. Concerns about Kittle's health. You know what? Kittle's been in the injury report, I think, 4 weeks in a row. Everybody in the NFL is hurt right now, and a lot of guys are getting listed. Kittle has been great 4 weeks in a row. You can't sit George Kittle. If you have George Kittle and he is on the field, you cannot sit him because I think he's my tight end 2 rest of schedule. I think it's like he might be my number 1 rest of schedule because he has been gold every week. And no Ayuk, that's one less receiver to get the ball. You play Kittle. Otten, look, I get it. He's been getting a ton of targets. Defense are going to play them a lot differently now with no Evans and Godwin. Teams are going to press the field on them. There's not going to be all that open room for Otten that he's been getting. I'm going to go Kittle, and I just, again, never bench George Kittle. He might get a 0 in a game. You drafted him. If you draft George Kittle, you know that going in. You play George Kittle. Unless you got Brock Bowers with him. If you got Brock Bowers, then we're talking something different. All right, because somebody might have had Kittle and Brock Bowers. All right, Geno or Kyler. I got Geno ranked at 15 this week. I don't like the Buffalo matchup. I don't like no DK Metcalf. Kyler's going to run. They're probably going to trail. That's probably good for them. The pass rush isn't the same since they lost Jalen Phillips. I'm going to go Kyler Murray fairly easily. I got him ranked way higher. Jay Red, morning to you as well. Otten or Ferguson. Fred Warner doesn't like lockdown. He doesn't like it assigned anymore to just you take out the tight end. Back in the day, he did a few years ago, but that's happened the case. Dallas going to trail in this game, most likely. Ferguson is their number 2 option in the passing game. I'm going with Ferguson here. You heard me explain Otten, so I don't need to explain that again. Chase Brown, McMillan, Otten, Ferguson. Chase Brown does not have a good matchup, but the Fangio's defense is going to put the shell up to try to limit the big plays from Chase. Well, what does that create? Easy room in the run game. Now, the run defense of Philly's good, but Brown's going to get some screens. Brown's taken over the lead role in the last 2 weeks. Snap share's been way over Moss. The touch has been way over him. Brown has a high floor, and he's going to catch some passes. Go with Brown. Jay, Burrow or Murray? You know what? T. Higgins, according from Adam Schefter, from one of the ESPN guys, I forgot which one reported it now. It's unlikely that Higgins is playing. And Burrow hasn't done great against Fangio-style defenses. He's down the top guy. I'm going Murray there. Buffalo or Houston defense. You're playing against Anthony Richardson, so that's usually a beautiful thing. I don't think Geno's going to turn the ball over a lot here. I'd probably go with Houston. Here. The Indy offensive line is really good. I'd probably give Houston a slight edge here. But it's a tough call on that one. Jeff, Eckler, Irving, Ridley, Pearsall, Shepard, or Wicks. One for the flex. I think given this week, Eckler and Irving are real close to the best floor plays. I think that Washington's going to have to come in with the approach, run, and use the running backs. As if their quarterback plays, we know his ribs are something up with his ribs. And they probably don't want him launching all day. They probably want everything kind of kept close. And they've been good that way. The Bears can be run on. Irving is a little bit dinged up. Everybody's dinged up, as I said a moment ago. He's going to get his 9 or 10 touches. Irving probably has a safer floor than Eckler because Atlanta's missing Troy Anderson, inside linebacker. Their strong safety is doubtful. It's run support. I'd probably say Irving's the best floor play. Wicks, you never know what you're getting. And so if you need 20 points, yeah, I think he's the only play, and he's not going to get 20 points most likely. But if you got to roll the dice for somebody and you need a massive game, I think Wicks is the only player in here that could have that massive game. So if you got to roll the dice, then Wicks. Otherwise, I would take the safe points. Irving probably gets you 10, 11, 12, and that's probably about it, but that's not bad. Williams, Mahomes, or Cousins. I have Williams ranked very high, and you know what? He gets better every week. And there's nothing worrisome about this matchup. I would go with him. Cousins, of course, threw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns against his Tampa defense. They might have more success running the ball this game. Game script might be a lot different than it was. They were kind of trailing in that game for a while, but Cousins is a good play this week. Mahomes, look, you could play a narrative. Mahomes has not been a court. Mahomes was it. I said yesterday in the XM show, Mahomes is droppable. But this 1 week, if they really are ticked about the Kermit the Frog line from the Raiders last year and making fun of Mahomes if they beat him on Christmas Day, if you want to play the narrative street, I can't give any legs to it otherwise. You could do that. Caleb Williams is your safest play. Cousins is a very reasonable case to be made. I would tend to go with Williams here. Mason, Chubb, or Pollard. There is a concern that Dallas knows that Ayuk is out and they know that Debo's coming off pneumonia. Dallas could overstack the box and dare them to win through the air. I don't even know if Dallas could slow down a rushing attack if they do that. I would be inclined to play Mason here because I think Mason has the highest floor of this group. I like Chubb is a tough matchup, but if they go 2 tight ends, I expect you could be okay here. Pollard has a really bad matchup this week, so I got Pollard as 22 with downsides. Detroit's kind of lights out against the run. I would tend to trust Mason because Dallas is just so bad against the run. I would tend to trust that. YouTube user next: Bigsby, White, Mostert. You need one running back. Well, the fact that ETN is unlikely to play Bigsby, Green Bay's not good against the run, and Bigsby's been playing really well. White is probably going to catch a bunch of passes, which helps him, but Bigsby should get more volume here. Now, if Green Bay comes out and trounces them, then we might see more Dearness Johnson, but I think Bigsby's the safest play here. White certainly, it's half PPR, so that diminishes White a little bit. And then you need a flex, McLaurin, McMillan. So with the flex, I think I answered somebody with the McLaurin and White earlier. White has a higher floor and that's half PPR again. So that kind of, I keep thinking of PPR. PPR is kind of my default, but McLaurin is a really bad matchup. I think White is a safer play. I think McLaurin, if I don't think their quarterback's gonna be thrown deep if he's playing, but there's always upside there. I would tend to go with Bigsby and White here. And then if you want to roll the dice, McLaurin. And then standard, Stevenson, Olave, McMillan, Smith, Flowers. I assume you mean Devontae Smith, maybe? There, whatever you guys, and everybody out there, whenever you list a common name like Jones, Johnson, Smith, just always put a first name because, there might only be one Smith, but I'm trying to think through like Jonnu Smith. Just always put a disclaimer on that. Stevenson is a great matchup. He was dinged last week and left early. He's fine this week. He's off the injury report. I would tend to think Stevenson against New York Jets team that hemorrhages production of running backs. He's probably the safest play. I'd have Olave as a close second because he's finally back on the field. And we knew Rattler wanted to load him up with targets. And we've seen Rattler's been able to get the ball to his receivers a bit. And this matchup this week, I am not overly concerned about the Chargers who are down their best corner, Asante Samuel. Stevenson's first. Olave's a very close second for me. Steven, good morning to you. Flex question: Harrison, Judy, or Madison? Oh, man. Madison has a really bad matchup. Last week, he had 23 carries and some targets. That's really hard to shake off, but I don't know that kind of volume is going to exist this week. Judy, it's very speculative because I don't know how many targets he gets compared to Tillman. Harrison has been, like a bust, right? He's been, was he like the wide receiver 40 or something like that? He's been bad. He's been like flat out bad. I think Madison is the safest volume play in PPR because he's probably getting a minimum of 15 touches. I think if you got to go boom bust, because I think Miami gets a big lead on Arizona, there could be some garbage time and Harrison can produce it. So if you got to go boom bust and swing for the fence, it's Harrison. If you want to bank 8 to 10 points and you're good with that, then it's Madison. Judy right now is a little too risky. Ethan, Daniels, or Genome? It's risk tolerance for you. It looks like Daniel's going to play. Um, what time is Gino's game? I wish I knew the time of the game. I'm trying to think through what time the games are played at if they're both late games. If you got to make the decision early, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know if that Buffalo game's at 1 or 4, can't remember. If it's early, you almost got to play Gino because if Daniels is inactive, then you're stuck unless you have a pivot to go to. If they're both late games, and I'm sorry, I don't know this. I should, but for some reason, I just don't know the time of that game. And but otherwise, I again, I think Daniels might not be throwing deep, but I think if he's on the field, I think they're going to run him. I don't. They're going to say you can't run because why would you put him on the field if he can't run? Because at that point, what good is he, right? So I think that said, if they're both on the field, then I would give Daniels the edge there. But because Gino does not have a good matchup against Buffalo here. Now he's gotten garbage time yards in a lot of games. He's usually good for one touchdown in most games. Ethan, Shakir, JSN, or McMillan. I think JSN gets more volume here because of Metcalf being out. I think the targets are 8 to 10. I give JSN the edge for that reason. Ethan, half point PPR, receiver and a flex. McConkey, Jacoby, McMillan, and Dowdle and Irving. The 49ers are not a good defense against the run. They are weaker, but I think Dowdle's going to trail in this game. And I wonder how games are going to. And I don't even know they're apparently going to activate Delvin Cook. And to me, that's a little bit nerve wracking because what's their plan for him? Irving to me is in. Irving's in because he's getting his 10 touches. Jacoby Myers is interesting here. McConkey and him are both dinged up. They're less than 100%. And I'm trying to think. McConkey against the New Orleans, it seems like their corners are healthy. I thought they were getting like Lattimore. He was hurt last week. I'd probably go Jacoby Myers here because Kansas City probably gets a lead in this one. I know their secondary is good, but they lost Jalen Watson last week. So I'm going to go Myers and I'm going to go Irving on that one. Unite Santini, McLaurin, Monty, DJ Moore, and Higgins. I'm sitting Higgins because I don't think he's playing. The ESPN reporter, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but it was true. Schefter retweeted it. They don't expect Higgins to play. So I'm sitting him. And remember, Higgins, when he does play, we've seen it in the past couple of years. They'll make him a decoy. They'll play him a few snaps. He won't get a target if that happens. You can't take that risk. You got to sit Higgins because of the track record. Dell, Waddle, Brown, Stevenson, pick 2. Well, Tua's back. Arizona can't stop it. They have no corners. They have no pass rush. They lost Dennis Gardeck. Sean Murphy Bunting's out. They're the best corner they have. I'm dialing up my Miami players. Waddle's back in. Stevenson is your floor play. The Jets hemorrhage rushing yardage. But if you want to go boom bust for that last spot, this is a week where Tank Dell could do something because Indy plays a lot of zone, but they're vulnerable to breakdowns. And this is a game where Dell could get behind the defense. So Waddle's in. Stevenson's your floor play, high floor play. Dell is your boom bust play if you want to take that risk over to Florida Stevenson. Brown, again, not an ideal matchup, so I probably move him to number 4 this week. Brian, morning. Madison or Watson? Appreciate your suggesting to smash the like button. Also, if you're on RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube, you can hit that subscribe button. It'd be great. Notifications, if you want to know when we're on, that'd be great. I do a number of shows on this channel every week. Madison probably gets you 8 to 10 PPR, half PPR. So he probably gets you 6 to 9 half PPR points, which if he finds the end zone, he does better for you. I just don't know how many points are scoring against Kansas City. Watson, we've seen it. It's just not week to week. It's just not there. There's not the upside that we want to see out of him. Tyreek Hill is expected to play. Zay Flowers expected to play. Just reiterating those. But so Brian, Madison is just a meh floor play. I don't think there's a lot of ceiling here. I think Watson, if you need 15 points, Watson is one of the 2 players that has that ability, but he also has the ability to not be heavily involved in this one. So Madison's safe. It depends which you prefer for your risk in terms of you want floor or you want to go boom bust. All right. Rahendra, good morning to you as well. If Higgins can't go, you go Pittman, Chase Brown, or Bucky Irving. I think again, Bucky Irving is probably the safest floor of this group. You get those 10 touches. He's going to get some targets too. He tends to be their goal line back, and he could score one from there. So I like that. Pittman has just been a disaster with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson just can't get the ball to his receiver. So that he's Pittman's the best player, but he just has the bleakest outlook here. Chase Brown probably doesn't have a whole lot more ceiling than Irving here. So I would be inclined to go Bucky Irving in this matchup. And then you got that one already. All right. Let's see what we got here. Delroy, London, Bateman, Robinson, JSN Flowers, DJ Moore, St. Brown. Look, you've got 3 top, 8 receivers in London, Moore, and then London and St. Brown are like top 8 receivers. Moore is like a top 12 to 14. You don't sit those 3 guys. You just can't sit them. And none of them, there's no compelling reason to sit any of them, even if they have down games. What they could provide at an upside level is way beyond what the other guys you have will do. And Flowers is far less than 100%. Everybody's less than 100%. He's far less than 100%. So that's why I leave him out of that one. Vidal, Miller, Singletary. Yeah, right. They're all going to be diminished roles, and it looks like Singletary's role and he's playing Pittsburgh. That's no Andrew Thomas left tackle. That kills him. Miller saw a lot of his touches last week when the game was out of hand, so I really don't know what his true role is. Vidal, just a few touches. So ultimately, I think I would take a shot on Miller, but they all. I don't even know how much works. You know what? Let me change it because Pittsburgh probably gets a little lead in this one. It's possible Singletary gets some of the garbage time work, and there might be a little more room. I'll probably go Singletary. You obviously know you're in a pickle here because none of them are good options. I'll give Singletary the slightest of edges over them because he might see a couple more touches than the other 2. All right. Oh, I got another super chat. Then, John, I'll come back to you. I got a super chat question here. All right. Chief, Purdy, Nix, or Cousins? So Purdy I have as my quarterback 9. I don't know what Debo's true status is. Dallas could get run on. He might not have to have a big game, but Purdy should get something done through the air. He is, but I have Cousins ranked lower. But do I have Cousins ranked lower? Yeah, a couple spots lower. But this is the team that Cousins shredded for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. He should get 280 and 2 here. I have my rankings the way they are because Purdy has Kittle, and if Debo goes, I would probably actually override. If it's my lineup, I'm probably going to go with Cousins here because he's done it against Tampa. They're down 2 corners of their top 3. Their slot corners out. Jamel Dean's on IR. I would probably roll with Cousins here. I know they might be able to run the ball a bit, but same thing for Purdy. And Knicks, no, they're going to probably just run the ball heavy in this game. I don't think I think they're going to have a big lead. I don't think he has to throw a lot. So I think there's too much risk with Knicks. Justin, another super chat question. Now I'll get back to John. Kyler or Tua? So I have them very close in my rankings. I have Kyler at 6. I have Tua at 8. I don't think Tua is going to see any pass rush from a team that has none, and they lost Dennis Gardeck. Again, that's their best pass rusher. He's done. So everything's going to be quick passing to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I think even some screens to the running backs. I think Tua is going to be fine here. Kyler, there's probably some garbage time here, which will help him a lot. Tua at home, I just think this is a get-right game for them. All his passings are rhythm and timing, and I don't – that fact he's been out, that's not a rust factor. It's easy pitch and catch to his receivers. I have Kyler ranked higher because of the running ability. I think Tua's safer. I think Tua this week has a much better floor because if this game spirals out of control, so they both have upside. Kyler has more upside because he could really pile on some running yards. But if you want safe, I think Tua's safer. All right. And then you want JSN or Mooney. That's a tough one because JSN probably gets 8 to 10 targets. Mooney lit up this defense for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. He dropped a long touchdown too, which he should have gone beyond that. They're not throwing for 500 yards here. I think Mooney in this matchup, where again 2 corners are out for Tampa. I think Mooney is probably the better play because they have the similar floor to JSN, but he could go off here. And then at your running back, you got Ray Davis, Roschon, Dearness Johnson, or Garendo. So Dearness Johnson's best path is if Green Bay gets a big lead on Jacksonville, and there's a good chance that happens. And Dearness Johnson, the passing down back. So I think Dearness Johnson has the most upside, but if the game's close, he has the most downside because it could be a Tank Bigsby game. If the best floor play, and none of these guys have a good floor, but Roshan Johnson to probably get 7 or 8 touches, and he could get something at the goal, even though he and Swift both play there. So Roshan probably has a little better floor than Dearness Johnson, but if it's upside you're looking for, then it would be Dearness Johnson. If you believe Green Bay is going to play with the lead, which I think they will, that's the way to frame that one. Got more super chats coming in. Gregory, Brian Thomas, Tank Bigsby, or Chris Ola. Oh, that's a tough question to have, right? So as you see, I have Brian Thomas at wide receiver 16. Green, look, he's made big plays against some good corners, and he's a big part of that offense. I think they're going to have to score some points here. The chemistry with Trevor Lawrence and Thomas is very real. I think Brian Thomas is a strong play. Bigsby, though, ETN's not expected to play. We'll get inactives on that in a couple minutes here. Bigsby has the best floor, though, because he probably gets 15 carries here, and he's been good at them. And Green Bay's bad against the run. Olave, I love him too. Rattler's going to get him the ball. I am not, with Asante Samuel out for the Chargers, it's an easy matchup. So all that said, you have 3 equal players here. And I have Olave probably ranked higher. I have Olave ranked at 11. I have one downside because if Rattler falls off the rails, that's a problem. And Bigsby, I have him as an upside play as running back 23. But the volume-wise, Bigsby's the safest. So best floor. I think Brian Thomas could have the best ceiling. So you want to go boom bust, but Bigsby can find the end zone. I'm probably saying Bigsby because of the floor. And we know that it'll use him at the goal line, and they could get there. So I'm going to give Bigsby the edge. You can't go wrong with those 3. As you see, I outlined them all, that they all have a case to be made for them. It's why you have a great question. Overcome. All right, man. You were offered Tyreek Hill for Bijan Robinson. You know what? If Tua gets hit again, he's done. And maybe he doesn't get it. Maybe he doesn't get hit all year. Maybe like a repeat of last year where he didn't get touched. Maybe. Too much of a risk. Hill is dependent. And Hill's 30, and we see him get dinged. Last year, he was dinged up a little bit. Second half of the year, he started to slide in his production. He's already been dinged this year. He's got a foot thing. I just stick with Bijan. The offense is really figuring it out in Atlanta. I would stay there. Got another Bijan and Hopkins for Hill. I'm still not changing that overcome. I still think that Hill, as much as I love him and I have him ranked super high for the rest of the schedule, there's so many factors that have to go his way. Health and his quarterback's health. Whereas Bijan is going to be fine. That offense is really coming into its own. So I still say, and honestly, Hopkins should be decent for you the rest of the way as well. He'll be a possession guy there. All right. And then one more super chat question. Mac, starter sit, Smith and Jigba, Bateman, Bigsby, Kmet, and Palmer. So of these players, Bigsby has the highest floor. Kmet has similar upside to Bigsby. I think Bigsby's floor ceiling combo puts him above all of these players because Kmet, he's been great, but there have been weeks he has 4 targets. And if that happens here, then all of a sudden he doesn't have that upside, right? So I would put Kmet 2. You know what? Bigsby 1. Kmet has the most upside of the remaining players, but JSN probably gets 8 to 10 targets, so he's the steadiest of the second ones. So if you want the floor, he's behind Bigsby as the floor play. Then Bateman's 3rd, because it depends how this game script goes. And then Palmer, to me, is a distant 4th. Did I miss anybody? 1, 2, 3. Palmer's at the back of the boat here for this one, because I really don't know what to expect role-wise from him. But I do think Sterling Shepard and Jalen McMillan are probably a touch above him. All right. Looks like we're caught up on Super Chat. I got to get back to the live questions and let's see where I was at here. I was on John Rubright. All right. We shouldn't be far from inactives. John, I am playing Kyler, and I'm not thinking twice about it. Trevor Lawrence, I have my quarterback 20. Green Bay's good enough on defense. Look, I haven't seen enough from Lawrence. He's not a good quarterback right now. And Murray runs. And, I just don't, and I know I have Murray ranked like higher than everybody at quarterback 6. He's like 14 in the season, but that was 2 really bad games that put him there. That running is great. Vinny, good morning to you. Need a win. Nice. You must have heard that on XM this morning. Read about everybody needs a win. Anybody here not need a win? Let me know. That's awesome. Do you wait on Daniels and pivot to Knicks if he doesn't play or start Tua? There's no reason Tua shouldn't have a big game here. Arizona has no pass rush. They have no corner. Sean Murphy bunt things out. They lost their best corner. They lost their only somewhat decent pass rusher. I said Daniels. If you had a different option, Tua should be fine at home here. And maybe Daniels isn't going to throw it downfield. Just get the ball out of his hand, right? So I would probably say Tua's fine here. I don't think you need the risk. And I don't think you need to risk here. If Tua had any worse of a matchup, I would say it the other way. I just don't see any resistance from Arizona. I don't think they're capable of it. Kevin, morning to you as well. Need 2 PPR, Pollard, Monty, Robinson, Mooney, Garrett Wilson, Higgins. Let's cross Higgins out because of the injuries. Seems unlikely to play per ESPN. Pollard has a very, very difficult matchup, although he gets volume. Monty, I never care about the match because his offensive line is amazing. They're probably playing with the lead. Monty's probably going to be part of that. Probably has a good chance to score a touchdown. So I like Monty in this group. After that, Brian Robinson Jr. should be a week healthier from the knee. The Bears are not tough against the run. They're great against the pass. They're not tough against the run. Hard to go away from Garrett Wilson, who had 9 targets last week. And, New England, again, Christian Gonzalez isn't like this beautiful shutdown corner. He's very good, but he could see time on Devontae Adams as well. So Monty's in for sure. It's really between Garrett Wilson and Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson has a better chance of finding the end zone. So I might give him a 51-49 edge over Wilson. But full PPR, Garrett Wilson's probably catching 6 passes. So it's like literally coin flip. I think, again, Robinson Jr. has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. Wilson, it might be a lower scoring game. So if your gut says Wilson, please go with it because I can make a strong case for him. But Robinson's been playing well, and the Bears are not great against the run. John, I'm going to McBride here. Miami's been weak in the middle of the field. You can attack them there, and I think McBride has been seeing enough targets that continues. I get the thing with Otten, and I want everybody to listen to this one too. Otten was in a great situation. He's been great for 5 weeks. Defenses had to play them so much differently when you have Godwin and Evans on the field. Teams had to give up. So they're giving up that middle of the field to the other receivers. So Otten had a lot of room. I think defenses are going to compress in because it's like, all right, beat us deep. We can beat us with Trey Palmer. Good luck. Maybe you do once. So what? I think it packs in. I think McBride is way safer here. Otten will be fine. For those out there, Otten will be fine. I just don't think. I think everybody's thinking with Evans and Godwin out, and this isn't directed to you, John, who asked the question. It's directed to everybody because I'm getting this question all week, and it makes sense. But I think people are just doing the logic of saying, well, no Evans, no Godwin. All of a sudden, Otten now he's getting 80 yards a week. I'm like, not so fast. You got to understand the team concept. And again, John, that's not to you. That's to everybody. That's a very important question for everybody. Delroy, Jatavian Sanders, Zach Ertz, Jonnu Smith, Noah Fant, Disley, and Freiermuth. It's funny, but Ertz has been a very good floor play. Sanders' targets have picked up the last 2 weeks, but Denver's not a good matchup for him. Ertz gets targets every week. He's a solid floor. Smith, it's going to be interesting with Jonnu. I don't know his role with Tua. I don't know because he hasn't played enough with him. And I don't know if it's going to be all wide receiver centric. I would say Jonnu Smith is the boom bust play out of that. Freiermuth just is not getting enough targets. He somehow gets something done for fantasy. He had like a big play last week. Disley's less than 100%. If Disley's less than 100%, that's the guy I don't want. He had a great week last week. So I'm going to say Ertz is your floor play. Your boom bust play is Jonnu Smith. Fant, I'm not thrilled with the Buffalo match. I know they're without Milano all season. I get that. But I think from a versatility standpoint, I think they're in no DK Metcalf. I think the defense is going to play them shaded to the middle because that's where they're dangerous. Zay Flowers is active today per Adam Schefter. I think now I'm done with that question. So before I get to the next question, I got a super chat too, and then I'll come back to Chris Williams. But with Zay Flowers, look, we've already seen it. And we've seen him have, let me tell you what his games are, honestly. So Zay Flowers has been like extreme boom bust all year. So he's had like some massive games. And like, I know last week he ended up playing here. He played 71% of snaps. He was dinged up in a game, 1 for 11 and a rush for 19. And then he had 200-yard games before that. He had a 1 for 10 and a 3 for 20. So he has just been very boom bust. So you got to be careful with Zay Flowers. But look, he should have his level of involvement as usual. You know what the floor is, but you also know what the ceiling is. So I would maybe look at Zay Flowers and say, all right, he has a little downside this week compared to usual. I have him my wide receiver 21 with downside. You see him marked in red there. But I would, with the 21 rankings, fine. He's a wide receiver too. But there's downside. As long as you live with that, you get that right. And then just heard from Adam Schefter as well that, as expected, Mason Rudolph is going to be the quarterback, not Will Levis, who's out. Adam Schefter also reports signs point to Jaden Daniels playing, but we kind of knew that already. But again, just be careful because they might not be dropping him back for long passes to let him take extra hits. That could be really part of a game plan. This could be very, very run and short pass centric here. Running backs and the tight ends could be very busy for the Washington Commanders. All right. More super chat questions here. I think I answered that one for Mac earlier, and Jay is there. Caleb or Stroud? I got to go Caleb. Look, Stroud, I have my quarterback 12, and there is a world where things get going against Indianapolis. These teams have played in some shootouts, and it could happen. But C.J. Stroud has not been an overwhelming quarterback one each week. He hasn't been, and if they have success on the ground, even to DeForest Buckner back for Indy, Joe Mixon's been getting it done on the ground, and they may continue that route. Caleb Williams gets better each week. There's nothing in that Washington matchup that scares me. Mike Sandstrow's been a good corner, but again, Bears got much better receiver talent. I think that Caleb continues to get it done here. I think that Caleb is going to, it sounds stupid, he's going to want to show well in a game against Jaden Daniels, and I think they're going to let him keep a lot on his plate. I'm going to go with Caleb here. OG Bobby, JSN or McLaurin. So JSN, I'm predicting for 8 to 10 targets and no DK. I think that they're going to have to lean to the middle of the field. The outside corners are good for Buffalo. They're underrated. And I know Taron Johnson's, and I'm sorry, not Taron Johnson. No, I'm the slot corner. And I don't know why I'm losing my mind here, but the slot corner for Buffalo is good. But I still think Smith and Jigba is going to have to be a part of the solution because the pass rush is good from Buffalo. They got a rotation, and that line for Seattle's not good. So I think JSN is a higher floor play than McLaurin. McLaurin's boom bust. Jalen Johnson should be on him a lot. Again, I'm very worried that they're not going to have drop back deep passing for Jaden Daniels to keep his ribs healthy. So I have concerns there. The safe play is JSN. Again, if you want to go that boom bust and hope you get that 80-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, then McLaurin's your guy. But otherwise, I think this is a week where JSN probably is a better floor than the usual garbage you've been seeing from, which is about 8 to 13 points a game. OG Bobby, Hopkins or Nick Chubb? Oh, man, you had to ask me the Nick Chubb question because everybody knows my affinity for Nick Chubb. I fully expect 2 tight end sets from Cleveland this week. 4/5 of their line is healthy. Their left tackle's out, but they have DeWan Jones, and so he's fine enough there. I think that Baltimore's a really good run defense, but I think Nick Chubb's going to get more work this week. Hopkins, we really don't know what his role is. I'm conservatively saying 4 for 40. I don't know how much more they need him. I don't know how much they're going to integrate him. I don't know if there's a package of plays he's in for. Nick Chubb, again, is he playing 60 or 70% of the snaps? So I think Chubb has a better chance of scoring a touchdown than Hopkins. You can play the narrative of Mahomes wanting to get the Raiders back for what they said about him last year, beating him on Christmas Day. So there's that. So I'm going to say this. I think Chubb has a better floor this week, and they did throw to him 3 times last week. So there's that. I think Hopkins could have the boom bust. He could have a little, they decide to use him a lot, and they really want to stick it to the Raiders. Then Hopkins could have that game. Chubb, in my mind, is safer here. But remember, I'm a Nick Chubb apologist. So that's one of my weak spots because I believe the world in Nick Chubb. But his yards per carry receiving last week. He had like 4 or 5 carries at the goal line. So that was going to shrink his yards per carry. But for him to see, 12, 13 touches in his first game back, I have to think that goes up, and the offense should be structured differently. All right. Caught up on Super Chat. Let's get back to the questions and the Chris Williams I'm on here. Good morning, Chris. Let me just see if there's any other news that dropped here as we're getting into the inactive. DK Metcalf will try to do some work pregame, but remains doubtful against the Bills. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reports T. Higgins is feeling better. Be nervous. Be nervous because, again, we've seen him play as a decoy in the past. T. Higgins is a dangerous start. If you have another good option, I recommend you go with it. Vic Fangio defense have done pretty well against Joe Burrow, but I'm very concerned about Higgins being a decoy here. Trust your gut on the T. Higgins thing. If you feel you got to play him, teams are trying to see if Christian Kirk's available at the trade deadline. What else we got here? George Kittle expected to play. We knew that. Travis Etienne is a long shot to play. We should get an inactive report on that at some point. But we are eyeing Tank Bigsby to start. All right, Chris, back to your question. Appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. You have Rashad White in the flex, which is good this week. He should catch a boatload of pass, I would think. You need 2 receivers and a tight end. Shakir, Kirk, McMillan. I would lean Shakir, and Kirk's been terrible. I get it. But I do think Kirk has upside in this game. I do think that they're going to probably fall behind and they're going to need something. And I think he could have an opportunity. At least he's getting something done. McMillan to me is a wild card because my personal thought, and I could be wrong, Sterling Shepard's got to be their slot. I would have to think. McMillan needs to be on the outside, but that means he sees a lot of AJ Terrell. And I think that means he's not like shut down, but I think that could close up some windows that Baker Mayfield's not going to want to try. So I go Shakir and Kirk. Otten or Kraft. Otten gets more targets in this one than Kraft. Kraft has more ups. I think you're looking at Otten. You're looking like maybe a 5 for 35 in this one, which is fine. I think Kraft, of course, we know they use him in the red zone, but he only gets like 4 targets in most games. He hasn't won 9, but it's mostly 4 target games. So Kraft is a little more boom bust. Otten should have a stable floor in this one. So if you want the floor play, it's Otten. If you want to go for more upside but risk a little floor, then I think that you're looking Kraft. All right, Kevin Keller's next. Let me see if I make sure I don't have a super chat here. I do have. I have a super chat. I got to come back to Kevin. I'll come back to Kevin then. All right, super chat questions here. Got Eric. Full PPR. Burrow. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, on the time of these games. I know my mind there's so much going on. I didn't jot the times down here because a couple of these games are dicey with that. That game was flexed out of a late one too. All right, or Daniels. So I'm not excited about Burrow's game here. Fangio style defense have given him a little bit of trouble. And remember the Giants a couple weeks ago, Burrow didn't have a great game. And I really think they're going to, put the lid over it. Fangio's very good at that. But you got risk with Daniels because, like I said, I don't know how much they're going to drop him back and risk him taking hits. I think it's going to be a lot of running game. I think it's going to be a lot of quick passing game. And the Bears are an elite pass defense. Burrow, if you want a somewhat stable floor, I think Burrow gives you that. And it mitigates the risk of Daniels having a setback. So Daniels, there's a lot of risk. I would probably just start Burrow because of that risk. I don't think you need to take it. Burrow gets you 14 fantasy points here probably. He has a chance to get 20. 14 is probably a little more likely, but Daniels could get 4. Yeah, he could leave with a setback. If you want to embrace the risk that Daniels is a full go and Washington fooling with the Bears, play him. But I think there's a lot of risk. And then a receiver. Harrison, Bateman, Tillman, or McMillan. It's tough because Bateman gets about 4 targets a game. He counts on that big play, and it could be there. It definitely could be there. If Bateman gets lined up on Denzel Ward, those could be problematic plays because Ward could squelch him. McMillan, again, I'm worried that there's times he's on AJ Terrell, and I don't think Terrell's going to give a lot of space to McMillan. That leaves you with Harrison and Tillman. I think Tillman has a reasonable floor here because Baltimore is down 2 corners. They probably play with the lead. I expect more 2 tight end sets. I expect Winston to use play action. I think that gets Tillman some easier windows. I don't think he gets the 12 targets of last week, but I think he's the best floor play. Harrison Jr., I think this could be the boom bust week. You're taking a risk of what he's done the last 3 weeks, but I think there's real upside here because if Miami, as I expect, gets out to a big lead, and I know Harrison hasn't always thrived Arizona hasn't always thrived when they're behind. But I think the lack of consistent passers from Miami helps Harrison a bit. So I think Harrison's your boom bust play. Your floor play is Tillman. Bateman, again, I'm just a little bit worried about the corner matchup. When he sees Ward, that could be a problem for him. And then I got one more super chat question here. Ismail, 2 on Tyreek, Holmes, Hopkins, Ferguson. Oh. So, all right. I would go with the 2 on Tyreek side for sure. I expect them to have no opposition from the Arizona defense. And then your Ferguson, Laporta. Laporta, I believe, is the tight end 26 this year. He has his maximum targets in the last 4 games is 4, but it's usually 3 or less. Ferguson usually sees 6 to 8 targets. You go with Ferguson, in my opinion, here for that great floor. See if there's any other news here. What does Adam Schefter say here? Give me a second. Adam Schefter about Myles Garrett showed up to the game. Come on now. Adam Schefter showed up to the game. Oh, dressed as a Terminator. He did some Halloween. I love Myles Garrett. I love the Browns. All right, Henry. All right, let's see. Inactives. Nothing new for the Texans. We knew Shire, outside linebacker, and free safety Jimmy Ward are out. If it wasn't Anthony Richardson at quarterback, it'd be different. Marlon Humphrey is out. He was doubtful. We know Nate Wiggins out again. Two of the top 3 corners for Baltimore are out, and they do struggle against the pass. T. Higgins is inactive. So Adam Schefter reports T. Higgins inactive. Jamar Chase probably gets 8 catches, 90 yards in this one. Good chance of scoring. Not that you need me to tell you that because we love Jamar Chase. All right. But yeah. So anyway, Nico Collins is on track to return in week 10. Yay. We love to hear that. All right. I think that's it for news right now. We'll check back in. Caught up on super chat questions. Get back here. All right. Let's see where we're at now. It's going to take me a minute to find the questions. I had a bunch of spamming on here. Come on now. Where did these questions go? Give me a second here. I'm trying to flip through all these questions here and find out where we're at. Oh, my goodness. We have to get the speed round early today. I think I have a cajillion questions here. All right. Let's see. We got get back here. We got. Give me another second. I'm trying to get, whenever I get the super chat, it throws off where I was at question wise. And it's very difficult. I think I found it. No, I had Chris. All right. There we go. I think I found Kevin Keller. I think we're on Kevin. All right. Super chat's caught up for now. Need the following in half PPR. Monty, Dobbins, Madison. Dobbins has a beautiful matchup. And early in the season, we saw him go off. But man, it's in on Montgomery. I have Montgomery though as a top 9 running back, and look, Tennessee's played some easy teams. I think their numbers are skewed. They're not the defense everybody has them out to be. If you look at their schedule, they have really played very little. It's very hard to bench Montgomery because of his goal line role. Dobbins has great upside, but I think Montgomery has both floor and upside, so I'm going to go with him. And then Higgins, Kirk, Mooney. I am going with Mooney here. Remember, Mooney erupted, and I go again. Cousins not thrown for 500 yards again against Tampa. I get it, but Mooney had a big game and he left some meat on the bone there. Tampa's down 2 corners. Kirk's been on and off. Higgins is out. We're going with Mooney there. Ferguson or Henry. Henry's done great in his 2 games. This matchup against the Jets is a little tougher. They're a little tougher than what Henry's seen. I'm going to lean Ferguson because, again, Fred Warner does not just automatically get assigned to tight ends like he used to a few years ago. So I think that Ferguson will have some room to roll here. I'm going to give Ferguson the edge here. Trust your gut on that one if you like Henry. But Ferguson is Dallas's number 2 option, and they will probably trail in this game. Chris, McBride or Ingram? Oh, that's tough. That's tough. They're both should be heavily involved. I think Miami's middle of the field coverage gives McBride a big edge here. And I think Arizona's going to have to score a lot of points to keep up. I'd probably give McBride a little edge here. Rankings where I have them at. I'll tell you in a second where I have them at. I have McBride at 3 and Ingram at 5. So as you see, I do have that very close as well. And then you got Bigsby, McMillan, or Pollard. I think Bigsby has a really good floor here. So I'm going to go with Bigsby. But Ingram, look, you're in a PPR, right? So Bigsby has more upside, though. I think Bigsby has a better chance of Ingram could score. Bigsby has a better chance of scoring, I think. So I'd give Bigsby a 51-49 edge over Ingram. If your gut says Ingram, trust it. Pollard is a bad matchup. McMillan, again, I might be wrong. I think Sterling Shepard's gonna end up being their top receiver here. The guy's great. He just had an injury marred career. John, McMillan, Keon, and Bateman. I think you asked that earlier. Oh yeah, that was your super chat. I asked you. I got you earlier on that one. Good. Vinny, Caleb, or Stroud. I'm going with Caleb here. And I have Stroud as 12 and Caleb at 7. And I explained it for somebody else earlier, so you already heard me, so we're good there. Hubbard or Olave? I know Hubbard gets the volume every week and he does great. I think Olave is getting volume here. No Rashid Shaheed. And I know Rattler's in. But Rattler even said that first week he's going to get Olave the ball. Then Olave got concussed on the third play of the game. But I believe that Olave is getting 8 to 10 targets here. And Hubbard is a solid play. But Hubbard does not have a good matchup. They're playing Denver this week. Denver brings it. I'm giving Olave the edge here. All right, see what we got next. Richard. Caleb or Tua. Again, very close. I have them next to each other in my rankings, 7 and 8. They both have upside. They both have a good floor. My rankings say Caleb. I'm gonna either startable. They're it's like total coin flip. 7, 8. They're identical in my rankings. Caleb will run for more. So there's that. And Caleb's been running a little more lately. Tua could have a massive game here. If you want to play for massive upside, Tua, Caleb, I think, has a high floor and reasonable upside. But if you want to play the most upside, I do think Tua in this game has it because Arizona has no resistance on defense. It's a good question. Henry, good morning to you. Olave, Otten, Tillman, Kincaid. I am going with Olave again. You heard me talk about it. Rattler's going to get him the ball, so I'm going to go with my star player here. He's going to get it going here. Delroy, full PPR. Irving, Bigsby, Warren. I'm sitting Warren. Warren's not getting enough work. Irving's getting about 10 touches a game. He gets some goal line work. Bigsby with ETN not expected to play. I think to me, Jalen Warren just hasn't looked great. DeForest Buckner is active for Tennessee against the Texans. That helps their pass rush and their run defense. Packers, Quay Walker's out, which is terrible in coverage anyway, so nothing there. Buccaneers, no new surprises here. We knew the Browns beat out Jedrick Wills. DeJuan Jones steps in. The rest of their line is good, though. They got Wyatt Teller back, so they're in great shape. Tyreek Hill is active as expected. I did a same game parlay on that one. I might have gone a little overboard, but I went Tyreek over 100 yards, 2 over 225. Dolphins over 27.5 points, and the Dolphins -3. I think I may have also put a Trey McBride yardage in there over like 30 or 40, but it paid strong on that one. But see if it wins. All right. Oh, I think I made it with other super chat. Then I got to get back to Dave White. All right. So let me see here. All right. Ismail. Oh, did I answer? Oh, no. Here we go. JT86. Full PPR. 2 running backs and a flex. Hubbard, Achane, Pollard, Bigsby, Pickens, and Hopkins. Look, Achane has the quarterback back. I think this whole offense gets right. We know Achane was catching a lot of passes the first 2 weeks or 2. I think it was 13 targets maybe in the first 2 games. Achane, you got to put in, I think. And for number 2, it's going to be another second running back. I'm gonna go to Bigsby as the running back. Pollard is a really bad matchup here, and I'm concerned about the upside there. Hubbard, you heard me say a minute earlier, I'm very concerned about his matchup against Denver. Lights out. Bigsby should be kind of wheels up here against a Green Bay defense that struggles against rushing attacks. I'm going to go that way. And then at your flex, I got to go with Pickens. Pickens has been, I think, at least 53 yards like 4 of the last 5 games. He had 100-yard games at Fields 4 weeks ago. He had 100 yards last week. The Giants are not a team I'm worried about. I think that we're going to see Pickens get targets. I'm going with Pickens there. He's been playing very, very well. And let's see if I can remember where I left off at now. We see here. We went to all right, let's see. I'm hoping I didn't miss anybody's questions. Henry, I think I answered it for you, Henry. And we went with Olave there. Delroy, let me just see question-wise how I'm at. I think there's like a cajillion questions with some spam here. So I think we're at the point now where I'll answer them much more quickly. I think I have another super chat here. So then I got to come back and get to Delroy in a second. Super chat. Oh, John, you missed my answer. Oh my gosh. So, John, what we went for this is we went Bateman is the most likely to have floor and ceiling. We went number one with him. And then the second, it was tough on this one because I think that Sterling Shepard's going to be the outside guy. So and then Sterling Shepard's gonna be the slot guy. McMillan's gonna see some of AJ Terrell. I think Keon Coleman may not get a ton of targets, but I do think he'd be, and I don't like him on when he sees Reek Woolen. I think that's a bad matchup for him. But I do think Keon Coleman is more likely to see a higher floor than Bateman. So Bateman for sure. McMillan is risky. So if you want to go risk with a possible boom, but a floor that's very, very low, McMillan, I think Keon Coleman has a decent floor of about 6 or 7 points in this one. So I would kind of lean that way. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's come back here. And I think we're on Delroy. All right, and then I'm gonna do speed right here. I think if there's a player I know I didn't talk about, I'll say a little bit more about that player. But I think for the most part, Travis Etienne's inactive, so Bigsby's a full go here. All right, Delroy, Irving, Bigsby, Warren. Oh, I think I might answer that one. We went with Irving and Bigsby there. Dave White, good morning. Jack Smith and Jigba, Mostert, Odunze. All right. So picking one, I think JSN's getting 8 to 10 targets. So I'm going to go with him. I think that middle of the field, they're going to have to kind of operate there, that pass rush of Buffalo. Volmaniac, appreciate the like and subscribe reminder. Thank you. Fryermuther, Pitts. Pitts has been seeing a little more targets. He destroyed Tampa for about 80 yards. I'm going Pitts. Chargers or Falcons defense. I think the Bucks run it well enough. So I'm going to go with the Chargers on defense here. Joey Bosa's back. DJ Moore, London. I start your studs. Go with DJ Moore in London. Too much risk with Tillman. DJ Moore should see heavy involvement. Tom, Mahomes, Cousins, or Purdy. My rankings will say Purdy. It's my lineup. I think Cousins has more upside in this one because I think Atlanta's going to have. They're now 2 corners in Tampa, so I would give Cousins the edge. Purdy is always going to be safer, I think, because there's a good floor. But Cousins, I think, has a close enough floor and a higher ceiling. Let's see. Dragon, need to start one. Chubb, McMillan, Tillman, or Coleman. I'm always going to say Nick Chubb, and I probably shouldn't, but I think they're going to play heavy personnel, and I think Chubb's going to get closer to 15, 16 touches here. I think Chubb is the best floor, but your boom bust play is Tillman because down 2 corners for Baltimore, they're bad against the pass. There's going to be some play action. So Chubb's your floor play, strong, safe floor play, but I think your boom bust play is Tillman. I would not, Julian. I would not. The Eagles are good against the run. And I think Brown has run, but no, Kamara's the volume. I know the number's been bad the last weeks. When he played Denver last week, you got to give him a pass on that one too. So the Chargers, I think they're like I said with Connor last week, they're a paper tiger. They played some easy games. Connor ripped them up. Go with Kamara. And because I think Bateman's going to see enough of Denzel Ward. I'm going to go with Harrison Jr. here, although Bateman's been the better fantasy player lately. Brian Robinson, Hunter Henry. I'm going to go with Brian Robinson. The Bears are not good against the run. They're good against the pass. I think they're going to run a lot this week. All right, let's see. Ertz, and you know what? Andrews is a decent. Andrews been good 3 weeks in a row. And with all the man that Cleveland usually plays, they didn't do it against Cincy. I'm going to give Andrews the edge here. Andrews got missed on a touchdown 3 weeks. So he should have scored 3 weeks in a row. Andrews has more upside. I'm going to go with him. All right. Next one. Neighbors or Brian Thomas. Neighbors. I know last week is only 4 for 40, but the amount of targets he's been getting, I assume he's back to double-digit targets. I can't sit Neighbors. They're both great plays. I'm going to go with Neighbors. Watson or Bateman. Again, I'm worried about Bateman seeing some Denzel Ward. So I'm giving Watson the edge here, 51 to 49. I got another super chat question. I got to come back to Richard. All right. Fabian asks, Geno, Mahomes, Knicks, or Cousins? I think Cousins has the best floor and ceiling among this group against Tampa. Kincaid or Hunter Henry? Henry has a tougher matchup he's had the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid there. I think the middle of the field are going to be very necessary for Buffalo here. Chase Brown, Smith and Jigba, Hopkins or Pearsall. It's close between Chase Brown and Smith and Jigba, but Smith and Jigba, again, I expect to see 8 to 10 targets because Metcalf's out. So I'm going to give Smith and Jigba the edge in that one, Fabian. Thanks for doing the super chat for me. Richard, Franklin, Pearsall, Downs, or Hunter Henry, who should you start in your flex? Downs is going to be in trouble because of his quarterback. Pearsall, I don't know how much slot work he's going to get in this one. Franklin's been hot the last 2 weeks, and if he ends up on J.C. Horn, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to give Hunter Henry as a tougher matchup. I think I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall here. I think against Dallas, Pearsall should get 4 catches, and that should be enough to put him past this group. Anthony, Bigsby, Chase Brown, or Ramondre. Ramondre is an easy matchup, but they fall behind, and the line is bad. I'm gonna give Bigsby the edge. Bigsby has the best floor of this group. I'm gonna go with Bigsby. Richard, Franklin, Hunter. I think I answered that for you already. Mo, Daniels or Bo Nix. If that's what your gut says, I'm not overriding your gut feel because Daniels could be a game plan thing, right? So Nix will run. I don't know how much he passes for, but he'll run. And at the end of the day, that could get it done for you. Trust your gut on that one. Somebody else asked that. I'm going to say Neighbors. I think he gets more targets. Pistol, you're welcome. Hopefully I answered your question. Stuckson, good morning to you. I appreciate you, man. Receiver and flex. JSN, Harrison, Otten, Tillman, Ingram. Thanks. All right. JSN has the best floor of your wide receiver group here. I think your boom bust play of this particular group could be Tillman, 2 corners down, but Smith and Jigba should have a real high floor, and he has ceiling potential. So I kind of go with him. And then you need a flex from the rest of the group. I think Ingram may have the highest floor of the remaining group. Harrison would be more boom bust because Miami could get a big lead and they could be vulnerable, but it's tough counting on him. So if you want to go boom bust for your flex, you could go with Harrison over Ingram, but Ingram has a much better floor, I believe. I got to shorten these answers up so I get to everybody. All right. Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Montgomery, London, and Neighbors. So who are you looking to play and sit here? Bijan 1, Montgomery 2, Taylor 3 at your running back, London 1, Neighbors 2 at receiver. Dubs, Tillman, and Bateman don't go over any of those players. I think I understand. Don't play them over any of those other players you have. Dan. Yeah, Dan, I would probably go with Tua here because if Daniels is limited, if he is pulled out, Tua should have a super scenario here. I'd ride him in this game because of the injury status. Bucky or Bateman. Bucky's safer. Again, Bateman, I think you'll see enough of Denzel Ward to lower his ceiling. I'll go Bucky Irving. Warren or Johnson, Vidal. My expectation is that Green Bay gets a lead on Jacksonville, and Dearness Johnson has been a hurry-up back, so I think he gets some work there. So I would look at that. Super chat question. Half PP. You know what? I'm going to come back to Big Al. I got to come back to Big Al. Let me go open up the super chat page. I think I got a couple of them sitting here. So let's see what we got here. Ariel, Bigsby, or James Cook. Oh, man. It's really hard to sit Cook. Cook hasn't been getting the volume we like lately, but it's really tough to sit James Cook. I have Cook as my running back 30. Seattle's been bad against the run, and I think ultimately I'm going to go with the better player here. I'm going to go with the better player in a good situation. Bigsby, I have my 23 with upside. I'm going to go James Cook here because I do think against Seattle, I think he's safer in this one. I know the touches aren't great. It's a great question. I'm going to roll with the better player here. And then Don Mack, half PPR, 2 running back and a flex. Bigsby, Javonte, Chuba, Ramondre, Stevenson, Tracy, Harrison, and Pearsall, 2 and a flex. So this is going to be running back driven here. We're going to go with Bigsby and Javonte. Javonte has another cake matchup. I think he flirts with 100 yards and a touchdown again. Bigsby has a great floor here. And I think Ramondre, because Chuba has a bad matchup this week. Ramondre Jets are bad against the run. I'm going to go with those 3. Jordan, half PPR, McMillan, Najee, Pearsall, Tank Dell. I'm going to go with Najee. A couple 100-yard games in a row. This matchup's much tougher. but he's getting integrated in that offense. I think the offense has some signs of life. I'm going to go with him because his volume will be. He'll have a great volume operate. Tank, you mean Bigsby or Dell? Dell would be boom bust. Najee I have ranked lower than Bigsby though. So if you mean Tank Bigsby, I think Bigsby overnight. I think when I looked at Tank, I thought Dell. So all you guys make sure you always put the guys and gals make sure you always put the last name on a common name with Tank. We have two, but if it's Tank Bigsby, go with Bigsby. If it's Tank Dell, Najee for the floor. All right, let's make the live ones, and I'm on. All right, let's see where I'm at here. In here, I think I answered that one already. Answer that one. Big L, we're on. All right. I'm going with Devontae Smith here. They both are good options. I do think Devontae Smith is a very good matchup against Cincinnati, and I think he gets enough targets. Dobbs, again, he finds the end zone, right? But I think Devontae Smith should do enough here. This game could get some scoring going, so there's that. Richard, Franklin, Palmer, Henry, Downs, Flex. I feel like I answered this one already. I think Palmer. I think Hunter Henry has the best floor of this group. Downs is tough to trust with Anthony Richardson. Next one, Mayfield or May. Oh, you mean Drake May? I don't like either this week. I have Mayfield down to 17, but Drake May has a death matchup. All three corners are healthy for the Jets. That's a problem. I'm giving Mayfield a slight edge, but man, neither is a good option. If there's somebody on the waiver wire, consider it. But Mayfield's gonna be in trouble without those receivers. Debo or Brian Robinson. It's your risk aversion. Brian Robinson has a high floor. The Bears are not good against the run. Debo, I have no idea coming off pneumonia what his conditioning is. And that's risk. I would play Robinson because of that risk, but if Debo's truly healthy, he could go up for 30 points. So if you feel comfortable embracing that risk, play Debo. I think Robinson has enough floor to play. Tillman, Reed, Marvin Harrison, Jaden Reed. I'm going to go Jaden Reed. His targets have been low, but this is a great matchup for him. Cade, Purdy, or Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a great game last week. The Giants are better than you think defensively. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I think his floor is more reliable. I said last week Wilson had that one game bump. I really thought that Wilson coming out in the first game, there'd be like a lot of energy, and it kind of was there. Next one, Mason, Achane, or Debo. Hard to sit any of them. Achane caught a lot of passes with Tua. I think Achane's your play here. Mason, I think there's a world where Dallas loads the box and threatens them to, 49ers to win in the pass. Debo, again, I think Achane has a similar ceiling to Debo, and Debo has the pneumonia coming back from. I'm going to give Achane the move here. Richard. Oh, I might have more super chat question. I'll do this one. I'll come to the super chat. Chase Brown or Jacoby Myers. In this one, I'm going to go with Chase Brown. Kansas City's going to be a tough matchup, and Chase Brown should get enough touches in the passing game to go past Myers. I got to come back to Sleek. Here are the super chat questions. Let's see here. I answered Jordan. All right. Sammy, you got full PPR, JT or Cook. So the Texans are nothing scary against the run. Jonathan Taylor, I have him as my running back 14. I got Cook at 13. But Taylor seems healthy now. And Cook is going to get fewer touches most likely. I have them next door to each other because Cook is a great matchup. I think Taylor's floor is higher, and I want to see him with Richardson here. I'm going to give Taylor, even though my rankings are one different, I'm giving Jonathan Taylor because I think his floor is more stable. And then Arrow Chill, Tua or Purdy. I got to go with Tua here. Purdy, I have him right behind him in the rankings, but I think this is no problem with Arizona. No pass rush, Murphy bunt things out. That's big. Receivers, Olave, Debo, Shakir, and Sutton. So I would go Olave and Debo here. If you are worried about Debo coming back from the pneumonia, I think Shakir is a reasonable play. With Sutton, I don't know how much Denver has to throw in a game they should control on the ground. And I don't like that Franklin's getting more targets either. So I'd go Olave and Debo. But if you're nervous about Debo, then Shakir is a good pivot. All right. Sleek. Pearsall, Ridley, or Downs? Oh, man. Ridley hasn't been getting anything done despite getting more targets. Green Bay's probably not the best matchup for him. No, I'm having the wrong team. Tennessee. Give me a second here. Why am I bunk? Oh, Detroit. Detroit plays a lot of press, man. I don't think Ridley's gonna. I don't think the windows are gonna be there. Pearsall's probably your best floor play in this group because he's gonna get some action here. Your boom bust play is Ridley though. Ridley's your boom bust because he could get you one, but if Green Bay breaks, I'm sorry, I'm keep mixing up the Tennessee matchup here. Keep messes up the Detroit matchup because they play man. He could get behind somebody and that could work out. But he's boom bust. He's very dangerous, but he has more ceiling than Pearsall. So you need the ceiling play. It's Ridley. If you want the floor play, it's Pearsall. Dan, half PPR. Bigsby, Kraft gets 4 targets in most games. He had that 9. That's an outlier. Bigsby's going to get volume. I think you got to go with the volume. It gives you the floor. He's been used at the goal line. Steve, Geno and Jonathan Taylor. Always hard to set a quarterback because the floor is better for the quarterback. It's just Taylor is great, but to have that floor of knowing he's going to get something done through the air, even without Metcalf, I think you take out the uncertainty and you just go with the quarterback. Terminal sarcasm. Caleb or Mahomes? Caleb. Mahomes, you can play the narrative street of him being ticked at the Raiders. I get it. But Mahomes hasn't been a quarterback once since week 6 of last year. Caleb has a fantastic matchup. Thank you for saying hit the like button. Appreciate it. Jerry, Chuba or Tank Bigsby? Bigsby has a much better matchup than Chuba. These are both volume guys, but Chuba has a bad matchup against Denver. I'm going to give Bigsby the edge here. Kyle, 2. Chubb, Dubs, Rhymes, Shakir, and McMillan. I'm sitting McMillan in this group. I'm not sure what his role is. If he's playing on AJ Terrell, I don't know what the windows will look like. I'm going to go with the other 3 players. Allen or Love. You know what? The field is opening up for Allen because Amari Cooper's there. That's a big difference. Allen, you go to Josh Allen here. Jordan Love's my 3. Allen's my 2. But I think with Amari Cooper, I think Josh Allen for fantasy is back. You're welcome, Kyle. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see if there's any other active stuff that we need to cover here. We already said Zay Flowers is active. We knew that, though. Okay, look like we're in good shape there. All right, I do have to get through these quickly, though. So I'm out of 45, so I got to try to answer everybody here. Worthy or Mason? Mason has a much more reliable floor, so I'll go with Mason. Brian, Christian Watson or Alexander Madison? Half PPR. That Madison's a bad matchup, but he should get some volume. I'm going to still give Christian Watson the edge here because Kansas City's great against the run this year. Next one, full PPR. Higgins is out, so we're done. Joshua, Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale has the best floor. Ridley is extreme boom bust. He could get you 1. He could get you 18. Robinson's probably around 10. Robinson's the safe play. If you want to risk a super low floor for some ceiling, then you could look Ridley. Jacob, Chuba, Eckler, or Tolbert. PPR, I think Eckler may have the good floor here because I think they're going to go to short game. Chuba's a bad matchup. Tolbert's your boom bust. Because if Dallas is trailing, he could get a lot of garbage time. So your floor play is Eckler, and that's very good floor. If you need to swing for extreme volume in low floor, it would be Tolbert. Tolbert's matchup is not great otherwise. We answered that one already. Max, appreciate you listening to the show. It means a lot to me. And Mario, Mario, I love Mario. May or Gino, I got to go Gino. May was great 2 weeks. He has a bad matchup. All 3 corners are healthy for the Jets. Diggs, Tom's. You know what? I'm going to go with Diggs. Kenny Moore's a good corner. It's 5'9". Diggs will not have an issue getting open, and I think he'll be a focal point here. But Brian Thomas Jr. I missed that. Brian Thomas Jr. has been a stud in Green Bay. Look, if Jair's on him, he's small. I think you know what. I have them next to each other in ranking 16, 17. I got Thomas Jr. 1 ahead of them. I'm going to go with Thomas Jr. Love them both. They're equal in my rankings. Thomas Jr. has just been making plays, even when he has a bad matchup. Abraham Stevenson or Donald Stevenson. Stevenson has a great matchup. The Jets are horrible against the run. Joshua, Waddle, or Devontae Smith. I'm going with Waddle. With Tua back, I think he's going to be in full Jalen Waddle mode here. I'm going to go with Jordan Mason second here. because I think his floor is high. Even if Dallas stacks the box, I think he gets it done. Delroy. Wandale probably is the best floor of this group. And I don't know that any of them have a ridiculous ceiling. So I'm going to go with Wandale, who probably gets you that 6 or 7 catches again. All right, let's see what we got here. Daniel, McLaurin or Eckler? I'm worried about McLaurin downfield because of Daniel's injury and Jalen Johnson. Eckler has a good floor. McLaurin's your boom bust play. If you want to risk the floor, because this could be a floor game, but McLaurin's gotten it done like 5 weeks in a row. So it's risky, but there's more upside. Eckler's better floor. Shepard or Olave? I love Shepard, but Olave, look, Rattler's getting him the ball, in my opinion. I expect 8 to 10 targets, and I'm going to go with Olave. Robert, Ladd, Worthy, or pick up Jacoby Myers, I imagine you mean. You know what? McConkey's less than 100. I know everybody's hurt. I'm going to go with Worthy here. And Worthy has not been good. But I think against the Raiders, I'm calling my shot here. There's going to be a big play today. There's going to be one big play, and I think that gets it done. McConkey's safer. Even injured, McConkey is safer. So if you want to make sure you get something, I guess McConkey, but I think Worthy gets it done for you this week. My opinion, it's on a limb, but I think the Raiders will give up the big play, and I think Mahomes will take advantage of one this week. Terminal sarcasm. Oh, your post disappeared. Hopefully I find it. I know that's. Oh, I see it beneath it. Oh, I answered it for you, but it's fine. Impossible. Jaden Daniels, you grab Bo Nix, Gino, Russell Wilson, Winston, May, Herbert. Which of those are late games? I think I don't know which ones are late games. Bo Nix would be a late game for sure. That would be your pivot if you're worried about the inactive. If any of those other are late game, I think Winston's an early game. May should be an early game. It would be him. I don't know if Gino plays a late game. I'm sorry, I don't know this. I should know this. I don't. Bo Nix. If Gino has a late game, but I think Nix is going to run. Nix will run for something. So say Nix. Nix would be your pivot. And then we went with Allen in that one, terminal sarcasm. I answered it a couple minutes ago. I'm sure you heard it. Olave oil. Baker, Nix, or Caleb? Just Caleb. Baker, without those two weapons, it's tough. Nix is a runner, but not a passer. So Caleb. Robinson Jr., Rashad White, or Chase Brown. That's a tough one because White's probably going to catch a lot of passes. Robinson, the Bears are not good against the run. I'm giving Robinson Jr. the edge here. I think he gets good volume here. White's close. It's half PPR, so that diminishes him a bit. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Brian Robinson here. They're all great choices. Caleb or Mahomes? I'm going with Caleb there. You could play the narrative on Mahomes, but he hasn't been a QB1 since week 7 of last year, week 6 or 7 of last year. Purdy, Nix, or Cousins? May have answered this earlier. I'm going to go with Cousins there, even though my rankings don't show that. Cousins, I think, has a high floor in this one, and he has potential for ceiling. Stevenson, Chase Brown, or Dowdle? Stevenson has the best floor. Jets are not good against the run. Chase Brown has a little more boom bust because there could be some underneath passing opportunities. Stevenson's safest. I'm leaving Dowdle out of this one. Equal. These are equal. I think with Baltimore down 2 corners, I'm going to give Tillman the edge. I'm going Tua, and it's with Baker missing those 2 receivers. I can't endorse him. Would I trade Tank, Mason, and Smith for Gibbs? H&, Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, and M. If you have that kind of depth, yeah, get the superstar. Because Mason will be out of a job in 2 weeks. So, yeah, definitely make that trade. 1 receiver and a flex. Flowers, Smith and Jigba, Pittman, Kirk, Pearsall, Chuba, Chase Brown, Eckler, and Tracy. And 1 receiver and 1 flex. Flowers is risky, but I'd say to start him because when he goes for that 100 yards like he is in some of these games, it's hard to sit him. And Smith and Jigba, I expect to get a lot of targets. So those are the 2 I would go with here. If you don't trust Flowers, I would go to Chase Brown. I think he and Smith and Jigba are very close. Chase Brown should get more guaranteed work. I do think Jason's getting 8 to 10 targets here. But I would go. Did I say Smith and Jigba off the top? Let me reframe that. Maybe I said that first. So yeah, again, Flowers and Smith and Jigba, best floor ceiling combos. Chase Brown is a reasonable pivot if you're worried about Flowers' injury. Let me rephrase it, and that's how I'm going to answer that one. Enzo, Stevenson, or Devontae Smith? Jets are terrible against the run. I think I'm going to go with Stevenson for the floor. I think his floor is better. And Smith rarely goes off, and I don't think he goes off in this game. I think Anarumo comes up with a decent plan against them. Wicks or Tillman. It's tough. Wicks has a lot of drops, but he has big play potential. Tillman had a lot of targets last week. I'm going to say this. I'm going to give Wicks the edge because of Jacksonville's defense. Tillman could go off here, but I think Wicks has a good matchup that we can look at. If your gut says Tillman, trust it. Ferguson or Otten. Again, I said earlier, I think defenses approach this Tampa team different without Evans and Godwin. I'm going to go Ferguson there. You asked the chat, so it's not me. Okay. Fabian, Kyler, and Tua. Again, I had them next to each other, and my ranking's pretty close. I think Tua safer. They both have upside. So I have Kyler ranked higher because I think he could run for a lot of yards here, and there's that. Both are great plays. You can't go. I think Tua is safer, though, this week. Waddle or Monty for the flex. Oh, man, that's tough. That's tough. Monty's more of a lock for volume in a game they should lead. I'll go with Monty. Tua or Mayfield, not close to me. To me right now, I love Baker and a lot of teams. I can't start him anymore without his receiver. I have him as running quarterback 17. Tua firmly in the top 8. Tua or Daniels. Risk mitigation here. Tua for risk mitigation. Again, I just don't know if they're going to game plan it differently for Daniels. So I would eliminate the risk. All right, Raheem or Chuba. You know what? Arizona is terrible defensively. I'm going to go with Raheem here. I know Chuba gets volume, but Denver's a bad matchup. Daniels or Burrow. Risk tolerance, Eric. If Burrow doesn't do great against Fangio defenses, but he has a decent floor here. Daniels is risky, but I think even limited, you have more upside in this one than Burrow. So Burrow's your safe play. If you really want to embrace the risk of Daniels like not doing a lot, but having maybe upside, you could look at it that way. Your receivers, again, I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison over this group. Tillman's close. I like Marvin Harrison. I think they're going to trail a lot, and I think he has an opportunity to get some catches. So I think his floor is probably safer than the rest of his floor is terrible. I get it, but I'm going to go Kincaid here. I like Ferguson. Again, Cooper opens up the field. I think that helps. I'm going to go. Well, I assume you mean Jaden Daniels. I don't know what the 5 means, but I assume you mean Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go with Hurts. I just think that Cincinnati's not a good defense, and there's risk with Daniels this week. Jose, Wilson, Jacobs, Dobbins, or Debo? Garrett Wilson, I guess. I'm not sure who you mean. Whenever you use common names, everybody, you got to put a first name for me. Jacobs and Dobbins have great floor this week. I would go with both of them. DJ Gray, Kirk, Hopkins, or drop Kirk for Franklin. I don't think Denver's have to throw a lot here. Hopkins would probably get a 7-8 point floor, not much more ceiling. Kirk could be your boom bust place. If you want to go boom bust, you can go Kirk. If you want a floor, I think Hopkins gets you 4 or 5 catches here. Mahomes, I'm going Cousins here. Cousins, team he led for 500 yards at 4 times. You won't get that, but he should get 270, 280 in 2 or 3. Play the narrative of Mahomes about him hating the Raiders. There's that, but he hasn't been good for fantasy. Ranking a team, I don't know if I could do that one, Jose. You could DM me that one. Ranking a team, I can't really do that here for time. You could DM that to me on Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL during the week. I can answer it. You're gonna rank a team then. All right. I don't know what your bench, so I don't know what that means to me. I'm sorry. All right. Jeremy, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, J.K. Dobbins. Montgomery, they all are great. You can't go wrong with her. Montgomery, to me, is like always that lock play. And you see in my rankings here, I got Monty at 9, I got Hunt at 10, and I got Dobbins down a little bit around 19, but he has real upside. Dobbins may have the most upside of this group. So, but it's really hard to sit Montgomery and Hunt with the volume Hunt's getting. So, and Montgomery's getting goal line work. So I would consider playing Dobbins over Hunt if you want to go for that massive upside. But it's really hard to sit Montgomery and Hunt right now. Cooper, Wilson, Reed. So you need one of these. Jaden Reed hasn't been getting a lot of targets. I have them. Jaden Reed's my wide receiver 9 against Jacksonville. So I would tend to go him. I have Cooper 13 and Garrett. They're all like right next to each other. But I think Jaden Reed could go off here. So I would lean toward him. Flex, Cooper, Wilson, or Reed. Same names. So if you need a second one, I think I got Cooper and Wilson right next to each other. I got Cooper ahead. I do think Cooper gets involved. So I go Cooper second. Bill, good morning. 6 points per passing touchdown, Tua or Kyler? Yeah, a lot of people have had that question today. Again, I have Kyler a little bit ahead of Tua in my ranking. I think Tua safer. I think Kyler has a little more upside. Can't go wrong with either. The safe plays Tua. Kyler could be trailing, so that could be that. McLaurin, Harrison, Tillman, or Dobbs. You need 3 receivers. So I would go McLaurin and Dobbs for sure. And then what I would say is, I would think that of these 2, Harrison he's probably a little more bankable, even though he hasn't been good for a floor. I think Tillman has some real boom busts. So if you want to go volatile for that last one, it would be Tillman. I would probably start Harrison because Miami can be had especially if they're playing with the leaders. I think they will be. And I think that would help because the pass rush hasn't been great. Dobbs or Wilson. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson, Julian. I have him ranked high, 9 targets last week. So I think we still roll with that. Chubb, McMillan, Tillman, or Coleman. We're going with Chubb here. The volume was decent last week. I think it goes up here, and I think there were some 2 tight end sets. Debo, McBride, or Harrison. McBride has the safest floor. Debo has the greatest ceiling because we don't know what the pneumonia impact will have on him. Not sure of that. So if you want to go for ceiling, go with Debo. But if you're worried about the pneumonia, maybe limiting him, and if they get a lead, they maybe scale him back, then McBride should have a real high floor for you. No, Newton. Yeah, Glenn, you just heard me talk about Debo. He had pneumonia and he was in the hospital early in the week. So, I mean, I don't know what his conditioning is, but I don't know. He is the highest level of athlete in the world, right? So, but I think if they get the lead, I think that they wisely would sit him back a little bit, but he could do his damage on 5 touches against Dallas because they're so bad, right? V, Mason, White, Najee. I assume you mean Bigsby. PPR. I'm probably sitting Najee here. Najee has the worst matchup of his group. The Giants, they're not great against the run, but Dexter Lawrence in the middle and the center is out for Pittsburgh. That's a problem. So I would probably just go with Mason, White, and Tank Bigsby there. Brian, Tillman, Pearsall, Kirk, or Sutton, pick 2. So it's a matter of how much you're going to throw it to Sutton, right? I am putting Sutton ahead of this group. I'm going to go with Sutton, and then I would say the best floor of this group is probably Pearsall, but I think Kirk has that boom bust game. I think he could, if they fall behind, he could have the game here. So if you want to embrace the risk, it'd be Sutton and Kirk. If you want a little more safety, I think Sutton and Pearsall will be your plays here. Tillman's a great call too, because he 2 corners down. It's a real tough one on that one, Brian. Andrew, Brian Thomas, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Rashad White, pick 2. Brian Thomas and Garrett Wilson would be my choices. Wilson had 9 targets. Thomas has been getting done against good corners. Rashad White, we expect to get targets, but splits the backfield. Flowers, we know the ankle's a bit of an issue, and since you have 2 elite players, I think you go with them. Debo is not a game time decision. He is expected to play. I heard no word saying otherwise. You were offered Hill for Bijan. Somebody else had that earlier. Keep Bijan. You need Hill to stay healthy, and you need Tua to stay healthy. Bijan just has to worry about himself. I think I answered that for you already. Sleek, Mason, Swift, Taylor, or Kamara. Oof, man, start 2. Kamara had a bad matchup last time. I'm not as nervous. The Chargers are a paper tiger. James kind of rolled them last week. I'm going to go with Kamara. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. I think Dallas could stack the box, and that's enough to worry me. Swift has been great. Washington, but I'm going to go with Taylor and Kamara. I'm going to go with my 2 best players here. Connor, Monty, or Mason. I have Monty ranked the highest. Most likely he gets some goal line work. Most likely they play with Lee. I'm going to go with Monty here. Got him at my running back 9. Kareem Hunt or Jahmyr Gibbs. I got Gibbs, my running back 6. I think, again, Tennessee's a paper tiger. They played an easy schedule. People look at the numbers, they're lights out. They're not lights out. They played a bad schedule of teams. I'm gonna go with Jahmyr Gibbs. And Hunt gets a lot of volume. I get it, but I'm gonna go with Gibbs for the upside. I guess Hunt would have a more stable floor, but Gibbs is getting his touches here. Sauger, Pittman, Ridley, Debo. So Pittman has been terrible with Richardson. Ridley has had too many horrible games. I know Debo might be limited, but I think I would play him over these guys, limited or not, because even if he gets 6 touches, that might be enough to blow away the other 2. Luke, good to see him, man. Does Bigsby get? He could. Bigsby could get game scripted out. If the Packers get out to a big lead, and I know you're a Packers guy, Dearness Johnson will see the passing down work. So that's fully in play here. Yeah, and then Najee had 2 good matchups in a row. I don't think this week is that level of matchup. I would give Bigsby the edge here. Because I think he gets enough done. And I don't think it's going to be all Dearness Johnson if they fall behind. So I'm going to give Bigsby the edge here. Shookson, Devontae Smith, I'm going Neighbors. The targets, last week he had it all in the first half. I don't know what happened in the second half, but I think Neighbors gets extreme volume again, and I got to go with that. Aaron, Ingram or Andrews. Ingram is safer. And they both have similar ceiling. Andrews could go off here, but Ingram he gets more volume and he's on the field more. I'm going to give Ingram the edge for that reason. If your gut says Andrews, trust it, because Andrews should have had touchdowns 3 weeks in a row, but Lamar underthrew him on an easy touchdown 3 weeks ago. So look, Andrews is a great play, but Ingram gets volume. Delroy, I'm going with Olave here. I think he's going to get targets from his young quarterback Rattler. Bulldog, morning. Burrow, I'm going with Tua. I think they drop. Look, they probably don't hit 40. I think they're dropping 40. Today. Andrew, Dubs, McMillan, or Tillman. I'm going with Dubs. Here. Dubs has been really integrated the last 2 weeks. When he's not getting targets or high leverage plays, I'm going to go with the safe floor here. I do like Tillman, but I'm going to go with Dobbs here. Tough one here, Billy. I've heard you say I love Olave, but Brian Robinson, the Bears are not good against the run. And Bigsby does risk, like we told Luke a minute ago, he risks game script if they fall behind. I'm going to go Brian Robinson here. Olave's close. Olave and PPR is very close, but Robinson has a better chance of scoring a touchdown here. I'm going with Shakir on that one. Again, I'm not sure what McMillan's role is going to be. If it's on the outside, he's going to draw some AJ Terrell, maybe not the best. Dak or Geno. Oh, man. I moved Dak all the way down to, oh my God, if I'm quarterback 14, Geno's at 15. Dak has really had a hard time against San Francisco the last 2 years. San Francisco's run defense isn't great, but their pass defense is still good, and Nick Bosa is going to be a problem for them. I'm going to give Geno a slight edge here. Mendy, full spot, PPR, flex spot. Monty, Chubb. Monty has the best floor of this group, so I go with Monty. And he always a multi-touchdown upside, right? Next one, Otten to Hopkins. Close. I don't know how many snaps Hopkins played. I don't know if it's just packages. Otten is going to see targets. It's very, very close. I think Otten has a higher floor than Hopkins, so I give him a slight edge. Chubb, McMillan, Tillman, or Coleman. I think answers somebody. I'm going to go Chubb in that one. Tillman's your boom bust play, I think. I'm going with Javonte here. Javante's been great 3 of the last 4 weeks. The 1 week he didn't, he only had 6 carries, but I think that Carolina can't stop anything on the ground, and they got their right tackle back. I think Javonte flirts at 100 yards, should have a chance to score a touchdown. I'm giving Javonte the edge. And I probably have Brian Robinson ranked higher. Probably do. Let's see. No, I don't. I got Javonte at 17, Brian Robinson at 20. BJ, Taylor, Devontae Smith. Let's go with Jonathan Taylor here. I think his floor is better than either of those players. Caleb or Baker. I can't. It's tough to advocate Baker now because of those two receivers. I'm going to go Caleb. Caleb's been playing great. Easy matchup. Jonathan. We're going with Jonathan Taylor. Floor is too good. I know Rashad White should catch some passes, but Taylor should have a great floor here. Goff or Wilson. I'm going with Goff. I have my quarterback 13 with upside. Tennessee's been a paper tiger. They've had an easy schedule. I think we need to look at that and say they're not what their numbers show they are. Wilson, I thought he'd come out great last week because the adrenaline, This week, I think it acclimates a bit more. Trade ETN for Chase Brown? Yeah, I would. I Bigsby's in the picture now. Chase Brown is pulling away with the job. George, good to see you, man. Full PPR. Waddle or Garrett Wilson? I have Waddle at 10 and Garrett Wilson at 14, and I think Waddle could go off here. Mason or Connor? I do have Mason. I have Mason a little bit higher. Let me see where I got them at. Mason at 11, and I got Connor at 15. Connor could get game scripted out. They saw 2 weeks ago when they fell behind, they went to their hurry up and they took Connor out. I'm going to give Mason the edge for that reason. Man, it's always hard for me to say against James Conner as much as I think he's like super player. Love him. But I got to go with Mason. Good morning. Wyatt, Flowers, Harrison, or Lockett? Flowers is active, so I think we go with Flowers. Lockett's going to be close because no DK, they're going to work him out, but he's not playing, right? But I think Flowers, you embrace the risk. He's had 3 bad games, but he's had 3 like 100-yard games. I think you got to go with Flowers here. Jacoby, Tracy, or Tolbert at the flex. Don't like Jacoby's matchup coming off the injury, and don't like the matchup. Tracy, really don't like the matchup. I'm going to give Tolbert the edge. I think there's garbage time for him. Oh, I got a couple super chats. Then I got to get back to Lefty Man. How are we doing on questions here? I got to fire through. I got 13 minutes left. I got to get through these. All right, see if I got anything here. 11, 18. Justin, I'm not sure if I answered your question before. I'm going Olave here. Pollard is a bad matchup. Olave should get a lot of targets. I'm not worried about his matchup at all. Top corners out for the Chargers. There's there. Arrow Chill, I probably answered yours, but just in case I didn't, Tua over Purdy. And then I would say the safest are Olave and Shakir, but Debo's a player I would totally consider. But remember, there's risk with him because of the pneumonia thing. So, but I would go Olave and Debo. If it's my lab, I would take the risk with him. But if you're nervous about Debo, then go ahead with Shakir if you're nervous. Ariel, Robinson or Cook? Oh, I may have answered that one. Maybe I didn't. We are going with Cook as better player here. Robinson, I have in the 20s. Cook, I have in my running back 13. But I think it is a good enough matchup for Cook where we love that. All right, let's see if I can get back if I find the live questions now. All right, so let's see here. I was on. Okay, good. I found my spot. All right, I'm going to blaze through as many as I can. I got 12 minutes to go here. Let's hopefully I can get all your questions on. All right, let's see. McMillan or I'm going Harrison Jr. here. Lefty man, Tua or damn. If look, it's all about risk here. I think Tua is a great option this week. Daniels, there's risk. Early game Tua, I would go Tua. I keep saying to speed through these, and I never can. All right, 2 running backs, 2 receivers. You need 5 of these. Gibbs is in. Cook is in. And then receivers, Hill is in. Pickens is in. Been playing really well. Your tight end, very close. I'm going to give Pitts the edge because he blew up this defense a couple weeks ago. And then you need a flex from this group. Brian Robinson Jr. and Bigsby are close. I'm going to give Brian Robinson Jr. the edge. The Bears are not a great run defense. If you want a boom bust for that spot, it would be Dell. Dell has a chance of breakdowns in the coverage in the secondary. Kyle, maybe I'd answer this one. Full PPR wide receiver 2. I'm going with Dubs and Chubb there. Matt, Brown, White, Olave, Downs. I'm going to go with Olave and Rashad White here. Brown's close. Let me see if I have another super chat. I might have another super chat here, and then I got Oliver after that. I had nobody put in something, but no question. So if I can find your question, I will answer, but I don't have a question attached to it. All right. Where's I at here now? Oliver. Lamar Jackson, but who else do you have? Sorry, you have Jefferson, Thomas. I'll rank your receiver. Jefferson played already. I'd rank then Thomas, Debo, McConkey, and Harrison is how I'd rank your receivers. Your running backs, I would go in that order. Gibbs, Mason, Cook, and then Jacobs. That's how I would rank those players. I don't. There you go. One at the flex: Devontae, Brian Thomas Jr., Bigsby. Bigsby probably has a safer floor, but I would go with Brian Thomas Jr. He's been getting it done almost every week, despite the corner, and I don't have worries about this matchup. I think they trail here, so I like Thomas Jr. here. All right, where am I at question-wise? Just trying to see. I would go with Lockett. I think Lockett's in a good shape here. Did I miss a question here? Let's see if I missed. Michael, I might have missed your question. Let's see here. Hopkins, Waddle, Dobbs, Myers, Pearsall. Half PPR receiver and a flex. We're going Waddle and Dobbs here. Hope I didn't miss more than that. I think we should be good here. Sorry as I'm navigating through these questions. Answer that. All right, here we go. You answered that already. Vidal or Zach Moss? I think as little work as Zach Moss is getting, he's going to get more work than Vidal, so I'd give him the edge. Kevin, appreciate you. Justice Hill, you know what? It's all game script with Justice Hill. If there's opportunities where they can use him in the passing game, it works. In third downs, he plays. He's a flex. He's outside the top 36 because his floor is like literally, 12 yards. But there are weeks he's going to get it done. So there is today, if Cleveland does their usual and plays a lot of man, I think there could be some screens. So I think that for a flex, you could consider him. All right, I got to go faster. I got 8 minutes. I got to go way faster. Risk aversion on this, Pedro. Murray is safer. And Daniels is a bad matchup. I would probably go Murray here. Higgins is out. Thank you. Dobbs. I would go. Dobbs is safer. This could be the boom game for Dell, but there's a lot of bust potential because he hasn't done great. So if you want the safe one, it's Dobbs. The boom bust is Dell. I have Mason ranked highest. Dallas is bad against the run. I'd go there. H-N, yeah, you're good there. All right. Pollard or Chase Brown. Pollard gets more volume. They both have bad matchups. I get Pollard the edge here. I think I got one more super chat question. Then I got to get back to by Geppo. All right. Nobody. Do you think Browns defense? So there are going to be a lot of snaps probably when Denzel Ward's on Bateman, and those are a problem for Bateman. On Emerson, it might be easier if he gets there, but I don't know how often he'll be there. So I do think this is not going to be a great week overall for Bateman. Good question. All right, let's see what by Geppo. I'd go with the Bears defense here. I think that they're gonna have some answers. I went with Pollard, Chase Brown. Pollard, Chase Brown. I think answer for somebody else. I think I answered that already. So Robinson is the safest. Olave is very, very close. All right, let's see here. Samuel or Dobbs? Dobbs is safer because Samuel's coming back from the pneumonia, but Samuel has more upside because if he is fine, he could tear Dallas apart. So it's basically if you want what risk you want. If you want the safe floor, it's Dobbs. If you want to go ceiling, it's Samuel. If Daniels is active, I would go with Daniels. I would go with Daniels there. Love or Hurts? I got Love as my quarterback 3 and Hurts as my quarterback 4. It's even. I would give Love the edge here. I would go Ferguson over Otten. I would go with Taylor over Najee. Najee has had 2 easy matchups. He doesn't have one this week. Steve, Bateman, Wicks, or Tolbert. Wicks and Tolbert are pretty even. I'm going to give Wicks the edge here. Kincaid, I'm going Kincaid here, and I'm going Purdy over Nix. I'm going Kyler's just safer. Kyler's just safer because I'm worried about Daniels being limited. Answer that already. Briscoe, Javonte, or Bigsby. I'm going with Javonte. Another easy matchup. He should crush her. Answer that. All right, getting spammed. Jeremiah Hobbs. He is a flex start. I 4 for 40 is a baseline, I think, in this one. That'd be my guess. Bigsby, I'm going with Bigsby for floor, but Mooney is a great, great opportunity player here. He tore up Tampa last time. So if you want to swing for some upside, but Bigsby should have a great floor. Rodgers. Oh man. You know what? I'm probably giving Rodgers a little bit of an edge here. Knicks can run. I don't think they need him a lot. So I think I'm gonna give Rodgers an edge here. 111 for wideout. I had no idea. You DM me on that one. I have no idea who's on your rosters in your league. Charbonnet for Christian Watson or Demario Douglas. You know what? This week might not be great for Demario Douglas, but Demario Douglas is a player you want to add when any matchup is reasonable. Brian Thomas, McLaurin, or Flowers. Brian Thomas. McLaurin is a bad matchup. I don't know about the quarterback, and Flowers is less than 100%. I give Thomas the edge here. Dowdle, Hopkins, Pearsall. I'm going to give Hopkins the edge here. I will go Mahomes here. May has a bad matchup this week. I got about 4 minutes. I got one more super chat here, and I got to. Olave or Warren, half PPR. I'm going with Olave here. I expect him to get targets from young quarterback Rattler. 2 on Caleb. I have them like neck and neck. They both are great plays. I have Caleb Ray higher, so I'll say him, but 2 has real ceiling here. All right, let's see what we got here. Njoku, Devontae Adams. Man, they're all going to get a ton of targets here. I would probably go, despite the bad game, Adams, Njoku, Wilson. That's why I go. I would go, yeah. So Adams and Njoku, I'd go. Higgins out as Brown, get a bump. I don't think that's a correlation. I'd probably say Keon here, Bateman, little boom bust. You know what? Ray shredded there with no slot corner for Tampa. I'd go Ray. ETN's inactive. Thank you. All right. If I'm not going to get to your question, I'm going to apologize up front. This is a long question. I'm sorry. I just can't follow it. If you have something real quick, put it in. Give me an either or. I know I can't, not 2 minutes ago on all these questions. I can't answer that one. I said Rodgers on that one for you. I have Cook rated a little bit higher. Connor could get game scripted out. I'm going to go Waddle, Pickens, and Javante. I'm going to go with Worthy there. Caleb safer. Murray safer. Bigsby has a higher floor. Are 2. I'm going to go with Flowers and Wandale here. Very close on this. I'm going to give Taylor the edge. I'm going to go with Cook because Connor could get game scripted out. Javante, Bigsby, Waddle, or Pickens. Bench 1. Reluctantly, I'm going to bench Bigsby. I answered that already. Go if you can lean into the risk, Samuel. If you don't want to lean into risk, then go Dobbs. I go Prescott over Mayfield. No, Caleb Williams. Go Caleb Williams, 100% Caleb Williams. I would give Mooney the edge over this group. Lindorphins, Najee, or Mason. I'm giving Mason the edge here, Dallas. Even if they stack the box, I don't think it's a problem. I give Henry a slight edge. Laporte just has one game with more than 3 targets in the last 5. I'd go with Waddle there. Stroud or Nix. I'm going to give Stroud the edge here. I'm going to answer that for you already. Bobo, I have kind of low on my rankings. He's going to see a tough cornerback matchup. I put Bobo on about 3 for 30, 20% chance of scoring. If that helps you. Let's see what we got here. All right. Bucky Irving, he should get his usual. He should be better chance to score at the goal line. Wow, Marvis and JSN has a higher. I think 8 to 10 targets here. I'm gonna go with Njoku. I'm gonna go with Tua. I think they go off here. I'm gonna go with Kamara. The matchup was bad last week. I think he's in better shape this week. I am gonna go with Daniels there. If Daniel starts, go there. Obviously, if he's inactive, your choice is made. I still have Bigsby as a lower rank. I kind of factored it in 23, running back 23, but upside because you could get game scripted out if Green Bay gets ahead. Dobbins and Swift is really close. I have them right next to each other in my rankings. I think Dobbins has more upside, but I have Swift ranked one spot higher, so I would start Swift. It's close. I'm going to give Chubb the edge here. Dubs is safer. Too long of a question. I got I'm over time already, so I'm gonna see if I can just. I'm gonna go with Mason safer. Brian Thomas is safer because Flowers injury. I would start Waddle. Kamara. Ferguson for sure. So it's anybody out. All right. I'd pick up Caleb Williams there. I think we answered that one for you already. Running back at a flex. Javante and Cook. I would go with them. Geno Smith, GSN, or Murray and Harrison. Smith and JSN. I would prefer Murray and JSN, but it's not like that's an option. Stevenson has the best matchup here. I'd probably go with 3. I'd probably go Shepard, Pearsall. I don't like Bateman's matchup, but probably Bateman. Stevenson. All right, I'm getting spam there. I'm going with Olave. I think he gets a lot of targets. Tillman could too, but I trust Olave. Going with Hill, Adams, and Brian Thomas. Debo, I'm just worried about the pneumonia. I'd go Stevenson and then Flowers, but if you're worried about Flowers' ankle, then pivot to Dell. And I am sorry if I did not answer your question because I probably got another 50 in here, but I've got to get ready for kickoff. I apologize. Hopefully by the rankings up here, it helps you. I'll leave them up there for another few seconds. I think I might have one more super chat question, so I definitely got to get that. Let me just make sure what I got here. All right, see super chat ones, and then so we went Olave over Warren Brent, and then we went Caleb and 2 over close. I have Caleb ranked one spot higher, but both are great. And then we had Tyler, you had Bigsby or Dell. Bigsby has a higher floor. Dell has boom bust this week, but I think Bigsby has boom as well. So I go with Bigsby. And then last one, Bigsby or Dowdle. I'm still going Bigsby here. I'm just not bought into Dowdle. I'm sorry if I did not answer your question. Hopefully the rankings on the screen helped you a little bit. If you want to jump the line at future shows, the super chat does work. I know somebody's got to pay for it, but it does get you to the front of the line. Everybody, good luck. And again, if you didn't answer your question, I'm very sorry for that. Good luck in week 8 to all.